G'day guys, just want to make a quick video to show you that I found a gold mine of nice stringy weed for blackfish, and this is the type of weed that you want to look for, stuff that's on the surface. It's nice and green and thick. It's exactly what you want for blackfish. Can't wait to use this. And that's enough for a nice little session, or for a few sessions, and I'll show you what you do with this when I get to my fishing spot. Okay guys, so before you go out fishing for blackfish, you got to make your burley. Grab a bit of your weed like that, and you just rip it like this onto the sand, and then pick it up like this. Make sure you've got enough sand in there for burley, and then you mix it so it breaks up all the weed, and that way you got a nice even consistency. If you want a bit more in there, add a bit more weed like that. Make sure you get it in, put a bit more sand, and that way every time you throw out a handful of burley, there's a bit of weed in there for them to eat. And that's my burley bucket. Okay guys, I'm going to show you how I rig up for blackfish. First, you need to put a float stopper through the line, and then you get yourself your blackfish float, just like that. Make sure it's free sliding. Then you get your swivel, and you tie your swivel to your main line. Like that, and then you get your fluorocarbon trace. Now I ran out of 6 pound, but I generally fish around 10. I've got 12 pound with me, that's still okay, but we'll see if that will do the trick. We've got our fluorocarbon trace, doesn't matter what length it is, you don't want it too short though. And then we tie that to the swivel. Right. Got our trace there. And then with the hook, there's a bit of a different system that I use. So if you can see this, I connect it like that, and I do a double loop hitch. Right. 1, 2. Right. Tighten that up, get rid of this excess line. And then we get our blackfish hook. You can easily distinguish them at the shop. And then with this hoop, all we do is that we thread it through the hole of the hook, out like that, see? And then we get the loop over the hook, and then we tighten it up. And that's how you tie the hook. Now I'll show you why I do this. And before we move on, you want to put a small split shot right up above the knot there. Make sure it's nicely put. Yep. Just like that. And then we go with another larger split shot above the swivel. And then what I'll do now is I'll make sure that this float sits perfectly with the amount of weight. If it's not, then I'll remove the bigger split shot and I'll put a smaller one till I can only see that red point of the float. And that's pretty much it. That's my simple Blackfish rig. It's worked a treat for me. And as you can see, my float is sitting up very well, just the way I want it. Now I've got my hook. Now I'm going to put the bait on, which is this nice, very hard, stringy bit of weed. Okay. Now what we do, we open the loop like that. We get the weed through the loop like this. And then all we do is we go around the hook like that. And we do the same with the adjacent side. We go around, we muck around with it a bit, and that is a perfectly presented bait for blackfish, and it covers the hook perfectly. And some might say that's too much, but sometimes if you have a bit too much, it will attract the blackfish to your bait. Now once that we've casted the bait out, grab a handful of burley and we cast it out like that. Only a few handfuls, just enough to attract the fish to us. And fingers crossed I do catch blackfish for you today. That's fishing. Well, it was great to be out of the house for a few hours, giving it a shot at the George River for some blackfish. Unfortunately, I didn't catch any. That's, to my belief, I think that the blackfish change their diet during the colder months of the year. They go after worms or nippers. But as soon as the weather starts to warm up and the water is well above 20 degrees, or hovering around there, is when you will start catching blackfish on green weed. But if you follow the concept, the rigs, and how to make your own burley, you will definitely get yourself to some blackfish. I've caught plenty over the years, so I keep using the techniques that I've always been used to. If you got any questions, always feel free to ask. More than glad to help you out. Happy fishing.